I covered his coming out party, his game against the Dolphins 53 weeks ago when Jimmy Garoppolo went down with the foot injury, and it looked like they were going to have to use Brock Purdy for the rest of the year. Now, I'll just say that, I remember specifically after that game, Kyle Shanahan was not thinking that our season is over because he had seen Brock Purdy run the scout team and play a lot in practice. And, he would basically be feisty there against guys like Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw. And he would, he'd go back and forth with them. Like, I don't care who you are. And I'm not going to act like the last pick in the draft. I'm here to beat you today. And that's just always who he's been. And Brad, the thing I'll always remember when I first met Brock Purdy was after that Miami game. And I said to him, hey, I'm sure you'd recognize this because you know him. I'm sure his family would recognize this and say that's Brock. But I said to him after that game, I said, you will start your first game ever as an NFL quarterback next Sunday in this stadium. And on the other side of the field from you that day is going to be Tom Brady. So what do you think of that? He goes, hey, cool. He's been playing football longer than I've been alive. It's very matter of fact and all that.
Yeah.
I just want to say two things about him as a player. You don't throw the ball downfield with as much accuracy and confidence and it be a fluke or it be, it's because of the system. Okay. So Kyle Shanahan has great weapons at his disposal without any question. Would he be as good without Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk? No way. Obviously. Would Tua Tagovailoa be as good without Tyreek Hill? No. Would Patrick Mahomes be as good without Jason Kelce? No. So that's the way it is. I hate to be a cliche here, Brad, but all Brock Purdy can do, he can't stand there and say a word. Words don't matter. Actions matter. Every Sunday in the NFL, he is proving that he belongs, and he belongs in the absolute upper echelon of NFL quarterbacks.
When you see him play, Peter, at this stage of his career, as you put it, 53 weeks in, who does he remind you of?
I mean, his mentality really reminds me of Brady's. The only thing that he's different than Brady because Brady was an absolute taskmaster. And maybe Brock Purdy will get to be that way. But Brady was the most pleasant guy. When the game ended, you're talking to him, hey, it's great. You see him on the sidelines and during games, and he'll bite people's heads off if they're not doing the right thing. Who knows, maybe Brock Purdy will get to be that. But I think he reminds me of Brady in terms of, I don't care what anybody in the outside world thinks. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily pay much attention to it. And if I do, I laugh at it because it has absolutely nothing to do with who I am as a person or player. Brady once told me, it was after Goodell suspended him for 4 weeks in the Deflategate thing. And I said, why'd you choose to appear with Goodell after winning the Super Bowl, smile with Goodell, shake his hand, take pictures with him? And he just said, I'm not going to give away my power to that guy. I'm not going to let him think, in essence, that he controls me. And so I think, and look, Brock Purdy is Clark Kent. He just is. He's just this mild-mannered dude. But all I know is that there are some people who are made to play this position because nothing phases them, and they can put bad news in the rearview mirror in 1.3 seconds. And that is, so far anyway, we'll see.
Yeah.
But that's what Brock Purdy reminds me of.
I'll shift gears. Peter King with us for a couple of minutes, Football Morning in America. Before I get you out of here, Brock is here, as mentioned, this Sunday against the Cardinals. I've left you alone this year because I just think bringing someone on every week and saying, so what do you think, Peter? What do you think, Peter? It's been a train wreck. What do you make out of the Cardinals from a distance? I know you're out watching every last piece of them, but just from a distance this year.
I think they still have a decision to make on Kyler Murray. They may say publicly, I'm sure they'll say he's our quarterback of the future, because that's what you have to say.
Right.
But you aren't in the position that they're in very often. You're not in the position when there are some good quarterbacks coming out to be able to pick one, and a more standard type NFL quarterback than Kyler Murray. Monty Ossenfort didn't pick Kyler Murray. Jonathan Gannon had nothing to do with Kyler Murray until he walked into the building with the job and met him while Kyler Murray was rehabbing. That's so, I mean, they're not married to him. And, although the contract is slightly onerous, if they wanted to get out of it, it's not horrible. So I think the way I would look at it is this, Brad. I think the last 4 weeks of this season are really valuable for this franchise. There are two teams in the NFL who in the last 4 weeks of the season, they're not going to the playoffs, but these are vital games for them. One is Arizona with Kyler Murray. Two is Chicago with Justin Fields. Each of those franchises has a huge decision to make, because you're not going to be in position, you hope, every year to be able to get one of the great quarterbacks to come out of college football in a while. I have my questions, about the USC quarterback. I don't think he's faced much adversity, and when he hasn't looked so great. And what's going to happen when you go to a bad team? You're going to face adversity probably every day for 2 years. Look
When
at Bryce Young.
let me jump
He's
in.
on the verge of being ruined.
Let me jump in.
Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, let me jump in on that. So in Caleb Williams' case, when he runs to his mother and he cries, which he
I
did.
don't care. It's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. Really, honestly, Brad, I don't care about that. That's totally fine. Sometimes, you have a weepy moment. I'm talking about I just the collection of things. You know what I thought was lousy? He knows that he's not going back to USC. Don't tell me I'm considering this. He's not going back there. So at the end of his last game, a crushing disappointment, he says, I'm not talking to the press. Now, some people would say, who cares? I don't care whether you talk to the press. And honestly, I don't think it's a huge deal, but it's just a bunch of issues like that. And look, I don't cover college football. I don't watch a lot of college football. I talk to a lot of people in the NFL. There are some in the NFL who think that Caleb Williams is the second coming of Andrew Luck and then some. And there are some who are worried that he's an entitled kid who they have some questions about, not necessarily as a player, but as a person, just in terms of his attitude, work ethic, all that stuff. So we'll see.
I appreciate your time and insight as always, Peter. Stay safe. Thanks.
Okay, Brad. Thank you.